Welcome everybody to Arsenal Fan Circle, this Sunday show. Pull up a chair. You're all welcome here, and it's going to be probably a quick 90 minutes today, but it's going to be a good one. I've got a message for everybody out there, and maybe you'll be one of the first podcasters, Arsenal podcasters, to say this. Stan will certainly be joining me momentarily. We'll see who else comes in to the show. But it's a good one. It's a good one today because the message that I have for Arsenal fans is imagine it's May 2024 and we have won the league after 20 years since the Invincible season. Wouldn't you want to go back and enjoy each and every weekend of that? Look back in May, from May to through the season. Well, from my point of view, I'm going to take a new position here and try to celebrate, try to enjoy each and every weekend. And, as Riddy has comments up here, I'm minded to say as well, Riddy, if Carlsberg created weekends, they would look a little bit like this, with Arsenal winning 2-1 against Wolverhampton Wanderers yesterday. My message also to Arsenal fans out there, fear no one. Why should we fear any team out there? And news today, this morning, that we have drawn Liverpool in the FA Cup, in the third round of the FA Cup. Why should we fear Liverpool? Why should we fear Manchester City? We know who Manchester City are, but let's understand who Arsenal are and how good we are. And the decision that Declan Rice took this past summer, I'm sure there was a lot of circumstances surrounding his decision to come to Arsenal and not go to Manchester City. And I'm sure some of that was personal. Some of that could have been geographical. Some of that could have been also for reasons that he believes where we're going as a team, where Arsenal are going as a team. And maybe he sees the development of a world-class talent in Bukayo Saka. 3 or 4 years from now, we'll look back, maybe even 5 or 6 years, we'll look back at Bukayo Saka's career, and hopefully we will be able to realize some of the things and realize his talent, and add some trophies. He can help us win some trophies. Declan Rice is a great friend, a great mate of Bukayo Saka's. I'm sure that was a big consideration for Declan Rice coming to Arsenal. Other players, other England players, Ben White at the time, Ramsdale at the time. So, and also Eddie Nketiah, Declan Rice growing up and knowing Eddie Nketiah. So yes, I'm going to celebrate Declan Rice being at the club because we've seen the play of Caicedo today. And for me, if you're putting Caicedo alongside Declan Rice, well, I think we did the right thing in bringing Declan Rice to the club. The holiday season seems to have started early today with all of the goals going in the various games. So definitely going to look back at it. So I don't know if I can convince anyone. Everyone has their own opinion on Arsenal and how they want to support the team. But I'm going to say it now. We're going to win the league. And I can be bantered. I'm prepared to accept the banter if it doesn't happen. But I want to celebrate a win over Wolverhampton Wanderers. I want to celebrate next week or on Tuesday against Luton Town. Going to Luton Town and winning. Continuing to put that pressure on that Man City team, who now, for the first time in a long time, have drawn 3 games. And if this was Arsenal, if Arsenal was drawing 3 games in the fashion of a 4-4 draw at Stamford Bridge, a point at Stamford Bridge, we've seen it. It's not a bad result. We got a point at Stamford Bridge. Again, helped by Declan Rice reawakening Arsenal against Chelsea for that 2-2 draw. Man City, then last weekend, Liverpool go to Man City. By all rights, they should have won the game. They should have beaten Liverpool. There was a VAR decision which was harsh that saw a goal for City chalked off. But Liverpool, this is the thing about Man City. They are having teams stay in games. They're not the Man City. Is the hunger gone for Man City? Are they relying too much on Erling Haaland to get the goals for them? We know he's going to get 30, 40 goals in a season. But does he have a supporting cast around him? Arsenal, we know we're not going to have a striker that's going to score 30 goals. We may get a few players in the teens, maybe 14, 15 goals. If we can get 3 or 4 players hitting 14 or 15 goals in the league, then we will have balanced out what Erling Haaland's going to score for Man City. So Trent Alexander-Arnold scored against Man City, 1-1 draw. And yes, another 2 points dropped by City. And did we really believe? I didn't believe that Tottenham team would go and get a draw at City as well. But there's definitely something about that team against Man City. And I thought it was largely based on Harry Kane in previous seasons, but it's been borne out. And we've seen Pep Guardiola triggered this afternoon. We've seen Erling Haaland being triggered. Man City players clamoring around referees. We'll see if anything happens. Any fallout comes from that game. But now in 3 consecutive games, Man City have effectively lost 2 games. They've dropped 6 points. We've dropped points as well. But as we go through, we will see now. We have a gap. We have a gap to City, like we did have last season. Approximately around the same time in the season, we had a 5-point difference when the World Cup came around last year. Now I think we have a 4-point difference to Man City, and Liverpool are there, 2 points behind us, I believe. So I have welcomed 3 or 4 teams in this race, and because we need this. The Premier League needs competition. The Premier League needs teams to go to Manchester City and be competitive and attack Man City. Listen, I'm not going to compliment Tottenham because of this, right? We got this rivalry with Tottenham. I'm definitely in the camp, and I respect everyone's opinion on this. You can hate Tottenham, and you can want nothing but Tottenham to lose. But my perspective is we are not in a title race with Tottenham. We are not in a title race with that team. And where it benefits Arsenal, I will be. That's where my money's going. And I definitely wanted Man City to drop points. I wanted Pep Guardiola to be triggered. I wanted Erling Haaland to be triggered. I wanted Jack Grealish to feel like he'd scored the winning goal. But that didn't happen today because that team were able to score 3 goals at the Etihad. It remains to be seen what Arsenal will do at the Etihad, but we have taken our points against Manchester City this season. And as I've said on the Thursday night forum, it is now a straight race between how we compete against Man City, against the other 18 teams in the league. And so if Man City, and I don't want this to happen, but if Man City beat us at the Etihad, then the destination of the Premier League will have depended on consistency in the league against the other 18 teams. And that includes Liverpool all the way down to Sheffield United. And I think our Achilles heel last season was not being competitive enough against the bottom 6 teams, not getting enough points against the bottom 6 teams. So with all of that being said, and there's a lot to get through there, I want to bring in and mention all of the comments here. So really, Welcome to the show, already. Greetings, fellas. It certainly has been a weekend for the Arsenal. Definitely. And if Carlsberg, like I said already, if Carlsberg created weekends, it would look something like this. Arsenal winning yesterday 2-1, and we can talk about the fashion in which we won. It wasn't clear cut in the end. It was a 2-1 result, but at the end of the day, teams have won leagues by continuously winning games by one goal. And look back at Wolverhampton Wanderers' results over the past, over the whole season, over the course of the season, they have been very competitive with teams and played them close as well. So welcome, Reddy. A kind of class evening, everyone, and a shout out, a special mention to my my mother. It is her birthday tomorrow, so happy birthday, Mom, and hope you have had a great day today and tomorrow as well. Yes, Reddy, the Ray Derby in the FA Cup, 100%. Look, would I have wanted an easier draw? Yes, but I fear nobody, and this Arsenal team should fear nobody now, because I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years now, doing podcasts talking about Arsenal. And cast your minds back to 5 years ago. We had players like Cedric, like Socrates, like David Luiz, like Colonel Mustard, Mustafi. So, Melvin, you're right. Liverpool are the danger, in your opinion. And listen, I agree with it. I want Liverpool to be in this title race as well. But I want to go to Anfield and beat Liverpool as well. They're very strong in a lot of areas, and Jurgen Klopp is working around the fact that he does not have a strong number 6. He's got players who can do that in midfield. I do feel like over the course of the season, Liverpool will drop more points, but they will be there. Liverpool will be there and will be in the race right to the end, and I welcome that. And another thing I welcome is Stan joining me. So, Stan, how we doing?
Yeah, good. Good morning, Ray, and good morning to everybody in the chat box.
So I've had a little bit of a monologue, and you've probably been listening to all of the things I've covered there, and we can definitely get into it. But I welcome the points dropped by Man City today. I was not of the mind, and I understand if you hate Tottenham, you want nothing but bad for Tottenham because they are our traditional rivals. But for me, I'm happy that they were able to take 2 points away from City today.
Well, first things first, a very happy birthday to your mum.
Thank
I
you very
understand
much.
it's your mother's birthday, so happy
Yep.
birthday to Ray's mum. But this is news to me because I've only been up an hour. It's just gone 11 o'clock here, and I have a bit of a lie-in on a Sunday, so I haven't seen any football results
Okay.
yet. So thank you for spoiling match of the day for me. No, I'm joking. But no, if that's the case, then that's fantastic. And it seems that Man City are not impervious to pain this season.
Mm-hmm.
They've been dropping points here and there. And sometimes that's the way it goes in football, and we have to make sure that when a team like Man City is dropping points, that we're then making the most of our opportunities and not letting them back in.
Effectively, Stan, they have drawn 3 games in a row, and Arsenal did that last spring. We drew 3 games in a row in the run-in.
Yeah,
Is it gonna be the final nail in the coffin? No, but definitely dropping 6 points in 3 games, it hurts. It's gonna hurt that team.
yeah. And as I say, when they're dropping points, it's important then that we go out and maximise all of our opportunities and make
Yeah.
sure that gap keeps ever so slowly getting wider and wider between us and them. It just
Yeah, and
it gives them more work to do at the end of the day to try and catch us.
we were roughly in this situation this time last year. When the World Cup came around, we had a 5-point gap to City. Now I think it's 4 points now to City, and Liverpool are a further 2 points back. But we know, and I think this team now, this Arsenal team, feels like it's more mature now that we can I feel more confident that we're going to be able to take that in stride.
Yeah, my only concern, to be fair, is I still have a bit of a worry about our lack in depth. You know, we seem to have a few players that we have to really try to get through the season without injury. I mean, I think has Tomiyasu received another injury?
He did pull up yesterday, and we're going to talk about that as well. He did pull up and had to come off. I feel like some of the injuries we're picking up now, they're more of the precautionary type of injuries. Like if you feel something, go down and come off the pitch. There must have been something consciously said at the club. As we know, some players like Ben White and I think Kieran Tierney may have been tempted in previous seasons to keep playing in fear of them losing their position in the team, you know?
Yeah, it just worries me that we seem to have a few players, though, three in particular that I think of, and that's Jesus, Partey, and Tomiyasu. They seem that they're very injury prone, if that's the right word to use.
Yeah.
And then my other concern, of course, is we all know that Saka is still carrying some kind of an injury.
Yeah.
You know, and I do worry that at some point in the season that we may lose him for a period of time, because of the injury that he's carrying, and also, you know, he's one of those players that does receive a lot of punishment from the opposition when he's on the pitch.
The next section of calendar will be in January when when the Premier League goes into a 2-week winter break. So we have approximately 8 games coming up. One of those will be the UEFA Champions League game at PSV, which in effect will be a dead rubber game and should be treated as such. But we're going to have a difficult December, and we'll talk about that. And then the FA Cup draw. That was, I don't know if I want to spoil this for you again. This morning there was an FA Cup draw, and we did receive Liverpool at home. Yeah, we play Liverpool at home. So tying into that, Iconoclast has a question here, Stan. Question: in recent seasons, we seem to have sacrificed cup competitions for a high league position. Do you believe that will be the criteria this season, Stan?
Well, I think the league seems to be the one that Mikel Arteta seems to be targeting first, and then the Champions League. I think they're the two main competitions that Mikel Arteta wants to navigate, and then the others are bonuses, FA Cup and the League Cup.
Yeah. Now we went out of the League Cup, so that will, you know, lighten our schedule a little bit. For me, the UEFA Champions League knockout, we're confirmed. As I just said, we're confirmed to be in the knockout stages. We will be, we will finish the group as a number 1 seed, and we will play a second place team. Still, it's going to be Champions League, and there's no mugs. No teams that get to the knockout stages in February will be mugs. But in that regard, we have a few months now, Stan, where we can quote unquote concentrate on the league. You know, all those platitudes that professional footballers will put out there. But I think we are at a point now where previous seasons, if you understand where I'm going with this, our priority had been gaining the qualification for the Champions League. So previous season's priority had been put on the league in terms of getting that top 4 position. And we did jettison a couple of FA Cup ties to do that, namely Southampton away and Nottingham Forest at home. But I think we're in a much better place that we really should be trying to take our season forward on 3 fronts. You know, the league, the Champions League, and the FA Cup. So for me, I don't think we're going to sacrifice the FA Cup, and we should really try. We got a home tie against Liverpool. We should really try and go out there and knock one of the big boys off their perch and continue in that competition.
At some point, though, he's going to have to start changing his lineups, and he's going to have to start using some of the supporting cast in the first starting 11. So it's going to be interesting to see. Then you'll understand probably which competitions he's prioritizing. Yeah. As you say, in the Champions League, we've got a dead rubber, so we don't have to put everybody out for that.
Yeah. I think like Teabag, we affectionately call him Fabio Vieira Teabag. He did get a bit of a run in the team for 2 or 3 games. As we know, Trossard's been in and out. So Kiwior is being used a lot more. I think we see that the squad is being used to much more effect this season. Jorginho's had some games. You can think of the players who typically would be on the periphery, and we're starting to give them games then.
Yeah, it's not so bad when you sprinkle one or two of them into the main 11, but at some point
Yeah.
he's going to have to field them all at the same time. At some point you're going to have to see a Kiwior, a Jorginho, a Reece Nelson, all in the team at the same time, and Eddie Nketiah. I would imagine at some point. And it's those matches where you have more of those players playing together where they need to be able to step up and take their chance and give the manager something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. BX said last season, this time we were in second place. I don't think we were in second place last season in December. Because we were 5 points clear at the end of the when the World Cup came about. We were 5 points clear, BX, and we didn't come back till Boxing Day, when we beat West Ham. So we just want Arsenal to keep winning. That's the important thing. Keep winning, keep putting the pressure on. Wolves are a decent side who always score goals, and I've already beaten City. So I think there's no easy games in the Premier League. Happy birthday to Ray's mum. Thanks, Stan. Big up, Stan. Thanks, Riddy, for joining in there. City got 2 of us to chase now, lads. So City are down into 3rd place now. Arsenal on 33 points. I think Liverpool are on 31 points now, and City are 3 points back, so they're on 30. So consecutive draws: 4-4 to Chelsea, 1-1 to Liverpool, and now we've had 3-3 to Tottenham. You guys are class. Thanks, Revenite. What a mad day of football. My heart is still racing from anger to elation. Stan, I think the holiday season's here. Usually around about Christmas time, you get crazy score lines. You get a lot of goals scored. You're going to enjoy match of the day tonight.
Yeah, this is probably one of my favourite parts of the season, because now we start to get a lot of matches thick and fast, and that's where you really start to see what your team is made of. They have to keep putting in the concentration. You have to see how the manager's going to use the squad. It's probably my favourite time.
Yeah. Brady said he wouldn't start Saka at Luton. Keep fresh for Villa. Another thing with Arteta is he's always going to hold Saka to high standards, and so I don't expect Bukayo Saka to be rested. Although it would be welcome if we could go to Luton Town and win without Bukayo Saka starting.
Yeah, I'll just take him off. You get the job done early, and then you can start resting players.
I think the last couple of games he's taken them off around the 65th minute, so that is maybe some recognition from our Mikel Arteta that he does need to rest the star boy. Brady said, what do you guys think of the home atmosphere this season? Is it having an effect on the players? I was at the Lons game. It really was a library. So they've taken out isn't there something about the Ashburton army that has gone away?
Have they?
Yeah, I think I saw something about that. I don't know.
What's that?
I'm not sure exactly, but a lot of people say the atmosphere is much different to it was last season. And I think some of that is partly due to the way we were playing football last season. We were playing with a brashness, with an attacking intent without really worrying about defending too much.
Well, the style of football was playing last season is that sort of football where if you were sat in a stadium, right, you'd be lifting your ass off the seat, wouldn't it?
Yeah, a different kind of squeaky bum.
Yeah, it's for atmosphere. I can imagine a lot of people were standing up for quite bits of it, because it was a lot going on. But the last couple of games, I think, yesterday and the game in the Champions League, you're starting to see Arsenal, I think, play in a more of a flow.
Yeah.
of flow football.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't looked as toothless up front as we have done for some parts of this season. So it was
Yeah.
good to see, because a lot of people were saying, well, if we can do that in the Champions League, why can't we do that in the league? And I think a lot of that is down to who you're playing against. You know, what kind of style that they're playing. If you're playing in the Champions League and you have to come out and get points because you want to qualify, you can't just go into some games with a low block. You're going to have to play open football because you want to get the points. And if you've got a team against Arsenal that's doing that, then that gives us an opportunity. If they're playing open football, we're not trying to do a low block, that we can use our players' talents and their powers as how they should be, right? And I think that we saw that. And I think also with the Wolves game, they were trying to come out a little bit and play. So it's good to see that, but it's good to see that. But I think this season compared to last season, teams are playing very differently against us. You know, they're doubling up on Saka. They saw what he did last season. So we're not getting that much of the opportunities as we did, but it's up to us to find a way.
Yeah, and let's talk about that as well. I got some notes here. Bukayo Saka recently said, you know, when teams are doubling up on him. So we're talking about the first goal here, Stan, and we shot out of the blocks yesterday against Wolves. So Bukayo Saka said he looks at the tape and he tries to understand and formulate different ways of beating that, double press or double marking on him. So we kind of see that a little bit. He's isolated on the wing. Two players are coming, and what he does, he flicks the ball between both of them to Gabriel Jesus. And so by doing that, he's able to pivot around and move into the box while Gabriel Jesus is working the ball really well, dragging back. And Jesus finds Tomiyasu, and this has been something very welcome as well. We'll talk about Tomiyasu because I think we've tried Ben White and we've tried Thomas Partey with those inverted fullback. You know, you love these inverted fullbacks. I think we found our right-sided inverted fullback in Tomiyasu. Have you seen the work that he's done in the last two games in terms of assisting goals?
Yeah, he's a very impressive player. I really like Tomiyasu, a player that looks comfortable playing anywhere in the back line. You know, he can play centre back, right back, and left back, and looks effective in all of those positions. My only worry about Tomiyasu is that he's got maybe a touch of the Tierney's.
Yeah.
You know, how many games can you rely on Tomiyasu before he goes out with a muscle injury?
Yeah.
That just seems to be my only concern. And so when you see a player like that going into tackles, you're always wondering, like, is this going to be the one where he doesn't get back up off the ground? You know, I always wince when he takes a tackle because I'm always worried that he's not going to come out of it.
Yeah, and we hope that that knocky tuck he had to come off, and it gave Ben White the opportunity to come in and stake a claim as well.
I mean, I don't know the status of him at the moment. We saw that he got taken off and that there might have been an injury, but if it turns out that he's going to be out now for another extended period of time, as in a few weeks to a month or so, then I, as much as I really like him as a player, I'd have to be of the opinion that maybe we should be considering moving him on in the summer. And the only reason is that if you've got good players and you can't count on them, you're not able to put them in the team, then what is the point of having them?
Yeah.
You know, look at Thomas Partey. I mean, I think his stats are something like, for the games that he's had available, which is around about, I think it's just gone over the 150 mark of since he's been an Arsenal player of games that have been played, he's only been available for about 30%. That's a really bad number.
Yeah.
150 games, only been available for 30% of those. That's not, it doesn't matter how good he is. If we can't get that onto the field, then it's like we're a man down. So
despite how good, yeah, exactly. Despite how good he is for us when he gets into the team, if you're only there one in three of the games, it's not sustainable. It's not good enough. It's not good enough for a team who now has arrived toward the top of the league. We're arrived in a position where now we're capable of consistently putting trophies in the cabinet each season for maybe the next 2-3 years. We could start adding some trophies into that cabinet, but it's not going to happen if you have a couple of members in your squad who can't make the games that you need them to make and be there, you know.
Yeah, because every time they come back from a fitness, it's not like you can just put them straight back into the team. You've got to ease them back into the team. They've got to start building up a bit of rhythm. And then there's that, you've got to go through that precarious period of, like, are they going to break down again? Or are they going to
Yeah.
make it? Are they back? Because we've seen it happen with players before. They're out for an extended period of time and then they literally break down again in their next appearance because maybe they've been brought back too quickly. And it's frustrating.
And I know where you stand on Tomiyasu, and you've said that before. So hopefully he can put some games together, because I know the club is in negotiations with Tomiyasu to extend his contract. You know, but we would really need to.
There's also talk about Bayern Munich. I've got their eye on him. They really like him, and they can see what he can do, and think that he can help them. And I'm not surprised, because for the money that we paid for him, and again, this was a player that when I heard that we were signing Takahiro Tomiyasu, I was like, who? I'd never heard of him. I was like, run that name by me again, Tommy what?
Yeah.
But he seems to be he seems to me a testament that we do have a good scouting process behind the scenes, to have found this 100%. Guy, unearthed him, got the deal done relatively quietly, and to see what he's able to provide. I think he's a very, very good signing. And again, if our scouting team can find more players like that.
Yeah, look, I'm going to use, Stan, I'm going to use the comparison of Manchester United. Manchester United and Arsenal were roughly in the same area 5 or 6 seasons ago. And we were making the same mistakes, you know, trying to go through managers, trying to do the right things, trying to bring in the right players. But if Erik ten Hag is a good coach or a good manager, we're not going to know, because Man United are making very bad moves in the transfer market. They're not identifying the right players, whereas Arsenal have done that in the last 3 or 4 years. We've brought in and identified, for the most part, good players that we can rely on. And, you know, those players can drive us forward. Whereas you're seeing the mess that Man United are in right now. And look, long may that can continue as well, because they are rivals of ours. I'm not going to wish that they have a better recruitment than we do, you know?
No, I mean, and you look at Man United, and for me, the fact that they still have the temerity to roll out Anthony Martial to play in the first team just tells you everything that you need to know. He should have been sold years ago, and years ago, you know, but somehow he's still managing to hang around and pick up a wage at Man United, and he still gets rolled out to play in the first team. And it's
So coming back to Arsenal yesterday against Wolves, Saka double teamed, but he finds a way to use Gabriel Jesus and pivot around. You got Tomiyasu feeding the ball to Saka, and you know, Dawson, he gets a little bit of luck with the ricochet, but a really, really good finish from Bukayo Saka, just basically passing the ball into the corner of the net, and we break the deadlock after 6 minutes.
Yeah, his footwork was very tidy in the box. First of all, when he was on the right hand side and he was kind of being crowded out, the way that he managed to get the ball between the two of them, and then have the foresight to then wheel around and get back into another dangerous position. And even then, when the ball came to him in that position, that he was kind of almost being bundled out again, and he still had to keep control of the ball and get it into the net. I thought both of the goals yesterday that we scored were really good. It was a shame that we couldn't have got a third one in the second half, because it got a little bit. It did get a little bit not boring in the second half, but you were like, is there not going to be another goal? And it was unfortunate that Martinelli couldn't have steered in that goal that was so close to going in on the right hand post.
We would hit the post, the upright with Martinelli for possibly what could have been 3-0 in the first half. Trossard sent through, kind of takes the wrong touch if he shoots first time for me. I'm going to be most critical of Eddie Nketiah. I think he really should be lifting that over the legs of the goalkeeper. He sort of passed the ball to one side of the goalkeeper's legs, and of course the goalkeeper got his angles right because he hit the post, and Eddie Nketiah really should have scored in that situation. But that second goal, Stan, you know, we'll probably look back at this in May when hopefully we're hoisting that trophy, that league Premier League title for the first time in 20 seasons, high, and saying that was a really, really good goal against Wolverhampton Wanderers. The interplay between the cross
Zinchenko.
comes over, Zinchenko and Jesus, back to Zinchenko, and then Odegaard.
Yeah, I think yesterday actually showed me the best and the worst of Alexander Zinchenko in one game, because the move that he was involved in for that goal,
Yeah.
you know, where the way that, and to get back into the position to receive it back, where he ran around one of our other players and got it back into the box, was superb. But then the worst of him was for the Wolves goal. He was the one that turned the ball over in a very dangerous area when he was in the
Yeah.
defensive part, I suppose the defensive mode of his role. And instead of getting the ball out, you know, he kind of just dawdled a little bit, and the ball was taken away from him, and it led to a goal.
Yeah.
You know, and had that not happened, you know, if you're looking at giving a player rating, had that incident that happened, you know, you'd be looking at giving Zinchenko maybe an 8 yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you have to then look at that mistake, and then that takes a point away, doesn't it? Maybe a point.
I'd take
and a
1
half.
point away. I'd give him a 7. Exactly.
Point and a half, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you do give the ball away in your own box, and it's really bad. But the lad really finished that well as well. He finished his dinner there, Cunha. You know, and sometimes you got listen. You give the ball away, but you've lost to a really good goal there and a good finish from him. I was not particularly nervous at the end. I don't know how you were feeling. You look at the timeline, you thought it was a catastrophe for Arsenal fans that, you know, we're hanging on. I didn't think we were hanging on. It got a little bit nervy for 5 or 6 minutes, but basically we had enough to see the game out.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think that it was a backs to the wall situation. It didn't feel like a backs to the wall situation and hurry up and blow the whistle. I still felt that we were kind of in control, and I didn't think that we were going to let 2 points slip out of our hands.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was fairly confident that we were going to get 2. I was actually thinking that maybe there's a third goal coming.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I mean, in reality, if things had gone a little bit different, we'd be winning that game 4-1. We'd be talking about a 4-1 win today, and not the 2-1. Still gives us 3 points. When you were talking about the good and the bad, and you mentioned Zinchenko, I thought you might mention Gabriel Jesus, because, you know, this is a player who gets criticized for a lot. And he said recently his main strong point is not exactly scoring goals. So some people took that as, oh, you're a striker, you're admitting you're not great at scoring goals. But I think what he was trying to say was what he's great at is the other facets of being a striker or a number 9, in terms of battling for the ball, being tenacious, and having maybe that touch when it's needed to make others around you look good, you know?
Yeah, and the more that I see Gabriel Jesus play, and I know maybe some people are going to say that I'm crazy for even suggesting this, but the more that I see him play, I think that if we did bring in another number 9, say somebody in the mould of an Osimhen or of Vlahovic, or if you get your wish, for example, and it's an Ivan Toney, because I know that you're quite hot on him. But if we did bring in another number 9, another striker, I don't think it necessarily means that Gabriel Jesus now has to wait on the bench and can only come in if that player needs rest or rotation or coming off in the game. I think he can start in the same team. And how I would do that is that the way that we set up on paper, you know, when you pull up your phone to see who's playing, who the lineup is, and you see the formation that we have. So on paper, you would have the Osimhen, whoever came in, playing in that central number 9 position. And that left 8 position that we've kind of we've been experimenting with all season. So many people have been in there and had a go. You know, Declan Rice has been in there, Havertz has been in there, ESR's been in there, Teabag's been in there, Trossard's been in there. We've had a lot of people. It's not been a solid. There's not been anyone nailed on for it. So on paper, that's where I would put Gabriel Jesus. It doesn't mean that he has to stay and play that position on the pitch. I think that he should then, when the game is flowing and that we're on the ball and we're on the attack, he can then come in and be almost like a support striker.
Yeah. So I thought you were going to say, like back in the day, you'd have a big one and a little one, and Jesus could be the little one.
Yeah, when we're on the ball and we're moving forward, he can be coming up into a more central position in and around that new number 9 that we have. And then when we are off the ball, he can come a little bit deeper, because if you watch him, he's not afraid to come deep, looking for the ball to help out defensively and get stuck in. And there's been a few times that you see him in a very deep position, winning the ball back, turning very quickly and setting somebody else off with a good pass.
Yeah.
And then he also has the legs while the attack is still going to get into the box and be available if anything happens. So I think that the more I watch him play, the more that I think that he could play in that left 8 position with another striker, but he has the license then to come forward as a support striker. So it's almost like we're playing with a 2 up front.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And on Thursday night, Tony kept on comparing Gabriel Jesus to Lacazette, like taking us back into history lessons. But I think Gabriel Jesus offers so much more than Lacazette, namely the legs that is needed to be able to get into the box on the end of things after having set up some moves further away from the goal,
Yeah. It'd be like having a false 9 and an actual 9, because he comes deep so often. I mean, look at the goal that goal for Martinelli, where he was deep and he tackled the ball, turned and released Martinelli on that run.
Yeah,
that's what he does.
Yeah,
he can do that, but he can also get into the box as well to help out. So I think that would be an experiment worth looking at, and you don't have to lose him from the team, because, as we all say, he does give a lot to the team creatively.
Yeah, you think about the 2 goals. The 2 goals that we scored, he was key and instrumental in building the play up for those goals. The first one with the drag back with the defender at his back, able to feed it to Tomiyasu, and Saka scores. The second one, the interplay with Zinchenko, a lovely cushion pass, which really makes the goal with Zinchenko on the overlap. And Odegaard there to finish with his trademark left-footed shot. We're starting to see that from Odegaard a lot more as well. And I think I mentioned this on Thursday, and I felt like the goal that Odegaard scored, because there's been some criticism about Odegaard in previous games. The goal he scored on Wednesday felt to me like what you call an FU kind of goal. You really just wallop it into the corner of the goal, really crisp. But it felt to me on Wednesday like that would bring him back, and I said on Thursday night I wouldn't be surprised if Odegaard scored on Saturday, and it happened again, you know what I mean, with a similar finish as well against Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah, I mean, he had a concussion. That's why he was off of his game. He'd been carrying a concussion, and they tried to play him, didn't they? And it didn't work. They took him out, and then they took him out for a couple of games. It's just the way it is, and now he's coming back to his best.
Yeah. So Arsenal fans somehow, to forget these kind of things. So let's get into a few comments here. Revenite said that FA Cup is tough because I'm not sure what Klopp does if he uses squad players. This is John, a Liverpool fan as well, Revenite. So we're going to have similar thing. What are we going to do? But I think it's coming at the end of a holiday period. It'll be the first game of the new year, and it'll be before a 2-week break in the Premier League. So both teams will be wanting to win that game and progress to the 4th round of the FA Cup. And, it's a proud competition as well. Arsenal, we're the record holders of the FA Cup. We hold it for 14 times. We won that competition. And I think we have the record amount of appearances in semi-finals as well. Stephen said, just arrived, no notification on YouTube. We have done well this season, Arsenal. So, Yeah, listen, I want to win that FA Cup tie like I wanted to beat Man City last year. The circumstances have to be different, though. We have to beat Liverpool this time. We went into the World Cup break 5 points clear, correct? And we're 3 points clear of City now. I meant after 14 games, Jose. It could be Arsenal versus Liverpool, a title decider in a few weeks, back to the 80s. You can't count Man City out. Man City are going to be involved in this thing all the way through as well, but I want to mind the gap, if you know what I mean. We've got you guys in our sights. You never walk alone. So Liverpool in the FA Cup almost went from 0 to 0. I think that was. I won't spoil it, but that might have been one player today who was a hero and then he was a 0. That was a nervy last. It was a nervy last few minutes. I mean, I'm not going to tell people how they should feel about it, but I think we've seen Arsenal over 3 or 4 years now, Stan, and I'm a lot more comfortable with the control that we have in games. We went through Emery days at Watford where we were conceding shots and goals in the high 20s. You know, we're not doing that now.
No, and I think one of the things is that since Mikel Arteta is coming and being the manager of Arsenal, it's quite conscious to see that the area that he has spent the most time almost immediately addressing was our defence. You know, and he's gone back to it, hasn't he? You know, it looks like we've got a good defence, and then he's gone back and tinkered yet again because it's not quite where he wants it to be.
He's like a painter or a sculptor, right? And he's not ready to put the brush down or the chisel down. He's got to he looks at it, he's like, it's not quite right. I don't like the look of that. I got to add something to this. You know what I mean? And we're seeing it with David Raya.
And I think we're better for it, the amount of time that he's spent on putting our defence together. And it's a very good defence. I mean, it's hard to argue that there's a better centre-back pairing in the league at the moment.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, or even maybe for last season as well.
William Saliba picking up a yellow card as well yesterday in that game. But I think that Wang is a tricky player as well. He's one of those, you know, you look around the league and say he's a decent player and he'd be a decent pickup for a team. You know what I mean? Like,
remember me saying that the last time that I was on, and I was saying that Hwang is the sort of player that I would like to have someone like him in the Eddie role, in that position of the team. Because he looks like someone that can, you know, if your main striker does go out for a period of time, that he can come in and still provide you goals.
Do the job.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I like him. I don't know how much they paid for him, but he always looks like he's got a good eye for goal, Hwang.
Right after the second goal, we shot out of the blocks 2 goals in 12 minutes. Where I'm settling in for, we're going to score 3 or 4 here, right? And Trossard gets on the end of a cross from Odegaard, almost gets to it, but I think their goalkeeper, in the course of saving that shot from Trossard, gets injured. And looking around the league now, I don't know if you're aware, but there's other goalkeepers in the league now have picked up injuries.
Yeah,
Pope got one. Alisson from Liverpool had an injury as well. So Liverpool today had their second choice goalkeeper out or on the field. And Liverpool came through, I think 4-3 in the end. They scored 2 goals at the end. I'm really ruining match of the day for you right now. Sorry. Just feel free to tell me you just ruined another game right there. I guess where I'm going with this, Stan, is we got Ramsdale. What are we going to do with Ramsdale? You know,
I think he's out. I think he's gone. You know, and
do you think he's gone in January?
I think if he turned around to Mikel Arteta and said, "I think I'd like a move," I don't think they'd stand in his way. I don't think they would want him to go in January. I think they would, if there's going to be a change there, they'd prefer to do it in the summer. But I mean, you got to put yourself, in Aaron Ramsdale's shoes. Is he now thinking, well, okay, it looks like I'm not going to ever get back into Arsenal. It looks like the manager has his mind made up on who the number one is. So
Yeah.
how that now my other thing is like staying in the England team, and if I can't play here, then that's going to have a knock-on effect, perhaps, with my England status. So perhaps I need to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Arsenal would maybe allow that to happen in January if we were able to go and get a decent cover. But I think we've seen around the league in this weekend how precarious that could be. Yeah, Nick Pope, like you said, injured. Newcastle, Newcastle having a lot of injuries. Liverpool had an injury with Alisson last weekend at the Etihad, and Sa going off from Wolves as well. So you got three Premier League teams here who are probably going to be looking to upgrade in the worst case scenario. But we'll see what happens there. And
I just want to go back to something you were saying a moment ago about the 2-1 at Wolves, and you were saying that, you know, you said that you were settling in after the 2 goals to say there were 3 or 4.
Yep.
Yesterday's game is the sort of game that, you know, we got a nice goal from a central midfielder. We got a nice goal from a player out wide. I guaranteed you, right? If I'm just going to use this name as an example, if Harry Kane was playing up front for us, he would have got a goal yesterday as well.
Yeah. So is that?
Do you know what I mean? If you had a really good strike, if Haaland was in our team yesterday, he would have got a goal as well.
Yeah.
If Mbappe was in our team yesterday, he probably would have chipped in with a goal as well. What I'm saying is that a really good forward person, they would have also, I think, have been on the score sheet in a game like yesterday.
So that's both an indictment on the players we have, but also a recommendation to go out and spend big and get a striker in the summer, which, you know, probably is going to be the next step. And I think Osimhen is the latest name on the lips of everybody. Sure, I'd like Ivan Toney, but if we can get Victor Osimhen, I would go for Victor Osimhen because he's younger, could probably score more goals than Ivan Toney. It's a matter of how much money we're going to spend on this striker. And Gabriel Jesus does a lot for this team, but does he score enough goals in the Premier League? Probably would say no for where we need to go. You know, ultimately, this is one of the best teams that we've seen in 10, 15 years, you know, and we're developing into that team. I'd really like it to be a team that can win a Premier League or 2, can have a possibility to win a Champions League in 2 or 3 seasons, you know. So invest. We need to invest and do the right things and understand maybe we have some room to even get better again and bring in more players, you know. BX said if Ollie Watkins was in the lineup, he would have scored. And Ollie Watkins is a decent striker as well. I always liken him to Eddie Nketiah because they're getting paid the same wages every week.
I mean, if you look at Gabriel Jesus' stats over the years, I mean, his biggest goal scoring season was in 2019-2020, where he had 34 matches for Man City, and he scored 14 goals and had 7 assists.
Yeah.
The season after that, he scored 9. But the thing, you look at him playing for Brazil, even. You know, I mean, he hasn't scored a goal for Brazil since 2017.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't scored a goal for Brazil since 2017. So between 2020 and 2022, he's played 11 times for Brazil and had 2 assists.
And no goals.
No goals. No.
Wow.
So far, in 2023, he's had 5 matches with Brazil and no goals or assists.
Yeah. And I think
the only time he's been on the score sheet for Brazil, as I say, was between 2015 and 17. 10 matches, 7 goals, 4 assists.
So, I think the Brazil coach favors Richarlison.
This is something, again, same with Richarlison as well, right? He's not much, he's probably worse.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you just look at Gabriel Jesus' figures over the years for Man City and for Brazil, and you can see why they sold him. And I don't mean that to dig, I'm not saying that to dig him out. I still think that Gabriel Jesus is a wonderful player and can still be an asset for us. But as I say, the more that I watch him play, the more that I want to see another striker on the pitch. Doesn't mean that he has
Yeah.
to leave the pitch, because I think that he would be, with the right striker, he would probably be able to create so much for that striker and help us in so many ways, and still be able to chip in with goals here and there.
There's levels we could go to, and we recognize the areas on the field. Hawkwind, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a good weekend, because the results are once again going our way, but we're also a damn good team, you know. So yeah, Gabriel Jesus, we can definitely upgrade on him. Like you said, doesn't mean he has to leave the club or be out of the team.
Not at
There
all.
is positions and places, such as a Gakpo for Liverpool, sits on the bench, but when he comes in, he could do a good job for Liverpool. Martinelli, Stan, we were talking about Man United yesterday, and there was some public stuff going on between Ten Hag and Martial.
Was there?
Yeah, go ahead.
I said, was there? What happened? I missed that. What happened?
Yeah, there was some
Ten Hag's always got a beef with someone, a bit like Arteta used to have, I suppose.
Yeah, well, listen, if you have a bunch of characters in your dressing room who are not willing to maybe put the hard yards in and do the work, you're going to have some slackers in the team, and I think Martial could be one of those. Ten Hag having a go at him on the field. Now, we saw Mikel Arteta have a little go at not Tomiyasu, but Trossard yesterday as well. And I think that's the relentlessness that Arteta's got inside of him. He's trying to build a squad here that needs to be relentless. And if Trossard is not being perceived to do the right things and work hard, this was deep into the second half. He's going to hear about it, you know, and I'm all for that. But Martinelli in the first half, in the 35th minute, he's working back into that left back position. You mentioned Zinchenko. He makes a mistake. Martinelli, his winger, goes back and helps him out. These are the kind of things that you're going to see in good teams, you know, players working for each other. Contrast that to Man United. They're maybe not doing that at Man United. Now Ten Hag is having some issues. After that, then Martinelli gets his chance from the back. Tomiyasu, yeah, a great flowing play. Tomiyasu, crossfield pass to Saka. Saka then finds Martinelli. Martinelli cuts inside, hits the upright. And Martinelli's a player who's not yet to maybe score the amount of goals that he did last season, but I'm quite comfortable that Martinelli will get his fair share of goals for the remainder of the season, you know. But right now he's just sitting on one goal in the league.
Yeah, I think he's going to come good. He's so direct, and he's hit the woodwork a few times as well.
Yeah. So look, if you're looking at Arsenal and you're saying we are looking at Arsenal, we're saying we haven't quite hit our stride yet, Stan. Maybe it's because Odegaard had that concussion you're talking about, and he's just coming back to his best now. Bukayo Saka is continuing to create assists for us, but it just doesn't look as free-flowing as it did last year because we have these insurance policies of a Declan Rice, and we're playing in a slightly different manner as well. We're waiting for Martinelli to hit the heights, and waiting for Jesus to score more goals in the league as well.
Yeah, Gabriel Martinelli's had 12 matches, 1 goal, 2 assists. So he's only been involved in 3 goal scoring opportunities in 12.
Yep.
In 12 matches. Yep. And I think when you look at the stats like that in the cold light of day, you have to say that maybe, you know, there should have been more goal scoring opportunities that he should have been involved in.
Yeah. I think I'm not going to complain about Martinelli because I'm confident, and you're confident as well, that he will come good in the remaining part of the season. He'll get those goals.
I also think towards the beginning of the season as well, he had a lot of change around him. You know,
and some injuries too.
He didn't have Granit Xhaka to the right of him. That left 8 position has had a number of people filling that. that he's had to keep trying to get used to. And also behind him at left back towards the beginning of the season, that position was a lot of players. You know, pre-season he had Timber in there, he's had Zinchenko in there, he probably had he's had Tierney in there, and then he had to get Tomiyasu in there as well. So again, he hasn't had a lot of stability in the positions around him where you get support from the fullback behind him and the guy just to his right in midfield. And you could also say up front as well, where he changes a lot with Gabriel Jesus. There was a part of the season where Gabriel Jesus was out, and then we were going between Trossard and Eddie. So he's had a lot of unsettled. He hasn't had an opportunity to really build partnerships in anywhere on the pitch which is close to him because of the constant change.
I think as well, Stan, last year we were being accused of basically having like one game a week, every week or something like that. And we were using basically 11 players, maybe 12, 13, 14 players. This season, I think if you would look at the minutes, there would be a big difference in terms of the minutes are being a little bit more shared out amongst the squad. So maybe some of our starting players like a Bukayo Saka, Odegaard, or Martinelli haven't been able to get into that constant flow that they had last season. You know, so that could be an explanation, if you know what I mean. So with all of that being said, we're 3 points ahead of City. I think 2 points ahead of Liverpool. And you could argue we've not really hit our stride yet and not playing well, you know. And our best football might be ahead of us as well. Gabriel Megalegs defended superbly on Cunha at the end of that first half. And then there was that break at the end where Wang could have gotten on the end of something, but Raya makes a save just coming up to halftime.
Yeah. So
no problem. Arsenal fans, and I think everyone's thinking, right, Wolves have been hard done by on VAR decisions going into the second half. There's a poll on Gabriel Jesus' arm. He can't get a clear header. Not what you would call a stonewall penalty, but definitely enough for VAR to look at. But they had their cursory look and decided that Gary O'Neill would not feel any more VAR pain in this fixture, at least. On the 53rd minute, Raya saves Cunha as he was attacking, Declan Rice. This is Cunha's attacking Declan Rice, and Declan Rice is gesturing to Saliba, to get out there on the ensuing corner. 60 minutes. Yeah, my notes say 60 minutes, then. I would like a third goal.
Yeah.
That's my notes after 60 minutes. I'd like a third goal, much like all of us. We were all thinking that. So we could start getting some subs in. 2-0, it's a strange scoreline to be sitting on, because as we know, you can see the goal, you get a little bit nervy at the end, and that's kind of what happened. So would have liked to have that third goal to the sort of subs could have come in.
Yeah.
And then in the 66th minute, you've got Jesus coming off and Eddie Nketiah coming on. 74 minutes, Bukayo Saka, left foot curling shot. Yeah, just over the bar. He gets free. So, it didn't look like we were going to get that third goal. 76 minute, Martinelli comes off. Havertz comes on. Tomiyasu tweaks his calf. White gets a chance to come on. I think it's been interesting the way Tomiyasu has taken his chance in the team in White's absence, or he's just basically staked a claim to be better. I think I feel more comfortable with Tomiyasu lately on the field than Ben White. What's your thoughts on Ben White and Tomiyasu?
I think they're both very good. And I think they both bring something for the team, and it's good that we've got competition. I don't see, one doesn't have to be better than the other. It's good to have two equally as good people for those positions. And, players that they're not just wedded to the right-hand side. If we need to rest somebody in the middle now, we know that Ben White can go in there. We know that Tomiyasu can even go in there. And Tomiyasu can even go out onto the left if needed as well. So it's good to have that flexibility. You know, I think Ben White is in the process now of contract negotiations, so he still has a place in the squad. He's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Also, as well, you know, as we discussed a little bit earlier, Tomiyasu can be a bit fragile.
Yeah.
You know, how many games can he actually play in a season?
So our fullbacks would be Tomiyasu, Ben White, and then Zinchenko and Kiwior. You know,
Timber?
they're Timber when he comes back, but a lot of Arsenal fans are saying don't figure on Timber this season. I actually believe he'll be back. He could be back in February, March, for when the Champions League comes around and be in contention to play as well. You know, so we're starting to see videos of him working right in the gym and rehabbing.
Yes. Sorry, I'm just I've got some work coming at the same time as I'm talking to you.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. If Havertz continues his good form, that could be out. That could be our missing goals. Yeah. If Havertz continues. So I don't think I've talked to you recently when it comes to Havertz. Are we starting to see a movement towards? I'm kind of like more of the opinion, Stan. I'm moving to the opinion of we're going to have players who can play roles this season, and we're not going to be able to, we don't need to rely on any one player scoring a majority of goals for us. So I'm coming to terms with Havertz giving us whatever he gives us this season and not expecting 10 goals, maybe, you know, because
No, but
I
I
know
mean,
there are other players that can come in and do that as well, you know.
when he scored in the game before the Champions League,
Yeah,
which
against
was
Brentford.
his
Yeah.
first goal from basically open play, you know,
Yes.
yeah, I thought, okay, that's good. I always like to see how you follow it up in the next game. A little bit like Eddie when he scored his hat trick. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is a nice platform to build off. Let's see how he builds off that in the next
Yes.
game. And in the next game, he was toilet. And you're like, well, you're not doing yourself any favors, are you? You're not showing any consistency. And I was looking at Kai Havertz in the same way. I said, okay, you got a goal now for open play. You know, everyone's telling me that you're lacking confidence, but the manager's showing you a lot of confidence, the way that he reacted at the end of the game. Let's see how you follow it up. And he followed it up with another one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got
In
one
the
early
Champions League.
doors against
Yeah.
Lens. Yeah.
So for me,
And
that was really pleasing to see that, you know, that I could look at him in the next game and it wouldn't be like, well, it's back to the Havertz that I saw previously. Not sure what it is that he's really doing. It's like he's struggling. Is he making a contribution or not? Is he tackling back? What is he actually doing? But to go in there and score another goal, fair play to the lad, you know. So that's what you want to see. You want to see sort of you want to see patches of consistency, patches of being in good form, right?
yes. Yeah. I think we're starting to see that with some players. I talked about Teabag earlier this season, you know, against Fulham and against another team. He basically won us some points. Trossard has come forward in the last couple of games as well and scored some goals. And now we're seeing Havertz doing the same. So when you call upon these squad players and they come in and do a job for you, it's kind of makes you feel good for the totality of the season moving forward, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think I'm coming to terms with this. The thing with Zinchenko as well. Yeah, look, I think we need to start looking for the positives of Zinchenko. We know that he's going to make defensive mistakes, but as long as he tries and he's getting better at it, we saw a goal line clearance at Brentford as well with Zinchenko. So I think defensively he's never going to be a Tomiyasu, but he's going to get better and better as the season goes on, and he gives us so much going forward as well. Odegaard provided a couple of passes, one for Trossard, which he misses, but then he plays a lovely through ball for Eddie and Nketiah as well. And in 87 minutes, again, it hits the upright, so we could be talking about a 4-1 victory today. It's 2-1. I really need Eddie to start becoming that striker who's going to take those gilt-edged chances. You know what I mean? You got to lift the ball over the. We always say though, like if you get into those positions, that's a good sign as well. So Eddie Nketiah is finding himself in these situations. So he's still our top goal scorer in the Premier League with 5 goals. 91 minutes, Jorginho comes on, Kiwior comes on, and that sort of plays into the last 5 minutes of the game where Arsenal fans are feeling nervous. The stadium's feeling nervous. Maybe Mikel Arteta's feeling nervous. Odegaard comes off and Saka comes off. But we're able to hold on and finish the game. I didn't hear the comments about Gary O'Neill, but he's starting to become like a bit of a whinger as well. Complain about time wasting that Arsenal players were doing. I didn't particularly pick up on us wasting time, but
neither did I.
Maybe neither did I. So Gary O'Neill, you got to pick your places and times to complain about these things. So we get out of the game at home to Wolves. We start December off really well, Stan, with 3 points against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and it's something we need to take forward into this month because progressively the games, like you said, are going to come thick and fast now.
Yeah, I predicted that it was going to be a 2-1 score as well. I thought that Wolves would get a goal. I thought it would be a different scorer. But I'm looking forward to this patch of games that are coming up now, thick and fast.
Yeah.
Even though I'm going to be working during the day, means I have to rush home and try and watch them on replay.
Good.
But,
I mean, it's good that you're getting some gainful employment as well.
Yeah,
that's
of course.
A good thing, you know. So you can see here our win-loss draw column. You know, we've only dropped 9 points. We have 33 points from 42 games, 42 points available. Last season we had 37 from 42, but we know we shot out of the blocks last season. And I'm looking at the second 2/3 of the campaign and the last part of the campaign, where we need to be more consistent. It's not about the start; it's about how you finish with Arsenal. And if we can be more sustainable and more consistent through the season, that's what we're looking at doing. You know. So coming up, Stan, we've got Luton away from home on Tuesday. A fixture we should really be looking to get another 3 points on and put the pressure on Man City because City have to go to Aston Villa. City have to play Aston Villa next.
Yeah, and again, that could be one of those areas where City don't get all 3 points necessarily. You know, and I think that teams that have got City coming up and have seen the last run of results game, it may give them confidence. You know, that they're not impervious to pain, that you can get at them, that you can take, you can get a draw out of it and come away with a point. And I think Unai Emery is going to do his best to try and beat Man City. I don't think he's going to play a very defensive game. I think he'll go to try and win, which looks like which is what he's been doing all season. And if we're playing Luton, you'd like to think that could be one of those games where we could have quite a lot of goals.
Yeah.
You know, in the perfect world, you can't take anything for granted, right?
No. 100%. And I think we play... So let me just look at the fixtures here real quick. So we're going to play Aston Villa on Saturday. So we play Tuesday against Luton Town. And like I said, this opportunity to rotate, opportunity to get some goals in that game as well. The big game will be Aston Villa away next Saturday. But before that, just want to be sure about this. Yes, Man City have to go to Aston Villa on Wednesday. So Aston Villa are going to host Man City on Wednesday, and then they're going to host Arsenal on Saturday. So Man City are going to give both of us really strong examinations about our credentials. I keep waiting for Man City to get that win. They didn't get it today against Tottenham. I hope they don't come out and be that wounded animal, Stan.
I'm just wondering if my microphone is picking up the singing that's going on here in the background. And if it is, I do apologise, but it would appear that the missus is in the other room on the Peloton bike, and it sounds like they're having some kind of a Peloton party.
I can't hear it. I can't.
All I can hear is, do you know that song that goes, would I die for you? That's all I can hear. That's all I can hear. Sorry.
Yeah. Martin Odegaard, Havertz are coming alive at the right time. Get that paper, Stan. 100%. I think that's the job he's talking about, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he's talking about. Get the job. City to draw a fourth straight match. You just can't see it, As much as I'd like to see that.
Maybe they'll have a loss.
Now we've got that. Who sings that song, Stan? Is it?
I don't know, but it's bloody annoying.
I know the song you're talking about now. I'm gonna have to check that out later.
Kind of sounds like a Terence Trent D'Arby kind of a song, right?
Yeah.
But I can't think who it is.
All right, so let's quickly go through. Put any questions in there if you have it for us. We'll get out of here. It'll be a shorter one in the next 10 or 15 minutes, so Stan can go and sing along to the Peloton music. He's going to do it, right? He's going to disconnect his microphone and take it to the next room. Karaoke next, Stan. Karaoke. All right, so we've got Aston Villa away from home after Luton, and then we have a home tie against Brighton. I don't think Brighton are the team they were last year, so I feel confident avenging Brighton. I remember Easter Sunday, what Brighton did to us in that game.
Yeah, they're not as consistent as they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
They look a little bit up and down. They've still got games in them, and they still have a very good way of the way that they approach the game. But they don't seem to be as consistent as I seem to remember them being. But they have lost a few players over the last season or so.
Definitely agree.
And as good as Ferguson is, he's still very young.
Yeah,
he's still very young.
I think losing Caicedo and losing McAllister to Liverpool has probably been a tough transition for Brighton, and it should be it's going to be a fixture, one of the few home games that we're going to have in December at the Emirates. After Brighton, then Stan, we go to Anfield, and we play Liverpool in the league on the 23rd of December.
Yeah,
and who
another
knows?
good one that I'll be looking forward to.
Yep. If both teams continue to win, no matter what City do, they could be the top two teams going into December 23rd fixture at Anfield.
A game like that wouldn't even surprise me if it ended up being a draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, right now,
not a very high scoring one either.
You offer me a point right now, and I don't fear Liverpool, but playing at Anfield, would be a good result to get a draw there. And then we finish up going into the new year with West Ham at home. It's kind of a traditional Boxing Day fixture. We always seem to get West Ham at home and then Fulham away from home. Now, Fulham are a decent team, but we still should be able to take care of business against Fulham, And then that brings us back to that FA Cup tie in the third round against Liverpool. And that's a competition, like I said. We are in a position now where we should be valuing the three competitions we remain in,
Yeah. But if it means we have to go out of the FA Cup, then for me, then so be it.
Yeah, I don't like to hear that, though. Many Arsenal fans won't like to hear that.
No. But the thing is that I mean, you have to. I blame the actual league themselves for the way that the FA Cup over the years seems to have lost its value. It should be the last. It should be the last game of the British season calendar. So it should be after the last game of the season, but before the Champions League. It should be somewhere in there. It should be given its own day. And it should be like how it used to be when I was growing up, where, you know, you'd have like Grandstand on BBC, and the whole sort of day and afternoon
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
just be about the FA Cup. You'd get,
Yeah.
you know, great FA Cup moments, other history. You get to look at the teams, how the teams have done in the FA Cup in the past, what they're doing now. Look at the players, have the, you know, the bit where the manager sits in the big comfy chair and he introduces each player and tells you a bit about them. And by making something out of it, it makes the day important. But when you kind of start to gradually devalue it, and you have other games being played on the same day, then I would imagine for the generation that's growing up watching football now, it's not being treated the same. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not being known as affectionately as it used to when,
Yeah.
you know, when you and I were growing up, and the whole day was just given to the FA Cup. It needs to go back to that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I remember.
if the league aren't going to respect it, then why should anybody else?
Yeah, I remember the FA Cup used to be, like you said, the all-day fair, and you would see footage from, you know, historic footage from, like, say, Newcastle or playing Aston Villa. You would see previous cup finals involving Newcastle or Aston Villa. You would get the sort of behind-the-scenes stories of certain players, you know, the angles, all of that stuff. And you're right, it's just not been valued over the years. And I don't think it's ever going to come back to that stage now. We have a Champions League format that's going to change to more of a European league style. You know, 2 tables of basically a league format where if you qualify in the top 8 in each group, you're going to go to the knockout stages. So we're going away from knockout rounds then, and we're going to go into more of a league format, the European league that the owners want to have to generate more money, you know?
Yeah, and you've got a lot of foreign managers in the league now, and a lot of foreign ownership that have come from overseas. And they're looking at, you know, you look at the way that the FA Cup has been marginalised by the FA, by some of the things, not giving it its own day. So it doesn't look as important.
Yeah.
To the owners and the managers who are seeing, they're not seeing all the pomp and circumstance about of the FA Cup. So, you know, you're going to have your eye on other things, on other prizes, because it's been kept in a low profile. If you built it up to how it used to be, then I think other people would be like, you know, especially managers coming into this company and seeing how everyone makes a big fuss out of it, they'd be like, wow, this is a really big thing here, and, you know, we want to put our best team out for it. You know, we want to make sure that we really go for it in the FA Cup because it's very prestigious. Now it's kind of it's basically the way that it's kind of celebrated. It's on the same level as the League Cup. There's no difference in elevation between the two trophies.
Yeah, and we'd like to see that come back in the FA Cup, but that's probably not going to happen. So getting back to the league, and we'll wrap this thing up, Stan. Arsenal now have conceded only 11 goals in 14. This ties into the control that Mikel Arteta is obsessed with, and the dominance that we have over teams. We don't give up gilt-edged chances to teams anymore.
No, but, you know, if you listen to Ten Hag, he'll have you believe that his goalkeeper is the second best goalkeeper in the league, even though his goalkeeper has let in 15 goals in 15 goals in 13 games.
They have a -1 goal difference, Man United do.
Yeah.
So they've conceded more. They've scored. Arsenal have conceded 11. With Liverpool and City having goal fests, they've the next best goals against is 14. So Arsenal's goals against is 3 better than the next best.
Good.
Yeah, and look, let's move forward with that. So things are looking good with Arsenal. Let's get a couple other things. I want to. The Guna Shack is back up and running. Is that correct?
It is actually. Yeah.
All
I had
right.
it, I
Can't
had
wait
it
to hear
closed
it
for a while. I
tomorrow.
was a bit busy in that, but yeah, actually, I opened it up again yesterday, and
I was checking on it a few days ago because I'm going to frequent and purchase some things. Um, so yeah,
and
check out the Guna Shack on Etsy. That stands coming up to holidays as well. You want to get some gifts for your loved ones. You want to tell your missus to buy you something for Christmas, then tell her all about the Guna Shack on Etsy and tell her to go shop for you there. You know what I mean?
I actually had a sale while we were on air, and it was the I don't know if you can see that.
The Trossard. I like the
The,
rice one now. I like the rice one.
the
You've got some
and on
new.
the
You
other
got
side,
some
you have
trust the process. I love it. So I like the Declan Rice one, but I'll be perusing that in the next week or so, and seeing what we can do. So go check out Stan's Gunashak on Etsy. Okay, Stan, your man of the match from yesterday. I'm going to give the Odegaard. I feel like he really stepped forward again, and a lot of what we do is dependent on how he plays. I feel we're very dependent on his play.
I think there's a couple of candidates that you could put into the man of the match yesterday. I think Saka could be in there for yesterday. I also think Declan Rice could be in there. But yeah, I think I would probably go with you on this one for today.
Martin Odegaard. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up the Gunashak one more time. And so what do you think about my new shift? I'm going to say we're going to win the league, Stan. I'm just going to put it out there. We're going to win the league, and I'm celebrating. You might not want to put it out there that you're celebrating every win as if we're going to win the league. Imagine we win the league in May.
I'm celebrating every win, but I still think that injuries to a couple of key people could really hurt us, and I also think that the lack of a free scoring person in the middle could also be a bit of a pinch on us. So it's going to be important to see whether that can be addressed in January. I mean, it will be a big deal. If we're going to do something in January, it's going to cost us at least a minimum of 80 to 85 million, depending on who it is that we decide to go for, and anywhere up to around about 145 million. And
Right.
I don't know whether the Cronkies are going to have the gumption to do a deal like that in January. But I mean, if it comes to January and we're looking close again, you know, if you're the manager, you want to be reminding them of what happened last season. You know, that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And if you want to get to the end of it, perhaps we're going to need the reinforcements early, you know, like overdraw. Some of the business we're going to do next in the summer, can we overdraw and do it in January, and we do less in the summer to try and get it over the line?
Yeah. What kind of injury would hurt us most in the forward line?
Saka.
Bukayo Saka. Okay.
Yeah. He's carrying in an injury as it is. He hasn't had any surgery on his is it his Achilles? That doesn't repair on its own without some sort of rest and surgery, I'd imagine. So he's carrying that. And I never understood why Arsenal told everybody at the beginning of the season. Because he plays every game with a target.
Advertise. Yeah.
Yeah. He's playing every game with a target on him. And I just think that if that's not going to get sorted until the season ends, will he make it? So it worries me. And if we do lose him for a long period of time, that would just be if we thought it hurt us when Saliba went out last season and there wasn't adequate cover, we had to bring in someone like Rob Holding for a period of time. What are we going to do if somebody like Saka goes out for a prolonged period of time? What are we going to do? I don't think we all internally.
Yeah. And we all know that in midfield, if we're talking about midfield, you take Declan Rice out of the lineup if he gets injured. What have we got? We've got a Jorginho or an El Neni to play in there, and it's looking a little bit sparse as well. So I don't know if where we're gonna strengthen in January, but maybe we could look at midfield and or a striker position, a forward position, going forward. But look, we'll leave it there. I don't know if you have anything else to add to today, Stan, but I think we're cooking. We're going along nicely. We've beaten Wolverhampton Wanderers. We're doing the things that we should be doing. This December is going to be a big month with Luton Town. Can't take that lightly, but Aston Villa next weekend will be huge as well. And facing up against Emi Martinez and Unai Emery again will be interesting.
Yeah, looking forward to the next the December period, because we'll know where we are. We'll have a good idea of basically what this squad has got about them come January. And also, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody that comes in on Thursdays and Sundays to chat Arsenal with us. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you to everybody. And all it leaves for me to say is I wish everybody out there to have a great week.
Yeah, have a great week. We've wanted this over the last 3, 4, 5 years. We've been doing these podcasts, Stan, and talking about some horrible results with Arsenal. Some of it under Mikel Arteta, and we were at the 90-10 situation with him at one point. Happy to say he continues to prove us, wrong in that instance, but we've basically been behind them the whole way, and the team. Now we have good times where the team is winning games, and we can maybe attack the biggest trophies in the country. Stephen's here. Stan, your tops.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen. Listen, hope everybody has a great week out there. As Stan said, it's been a good one for Arsenal. We got our 2-1 win against Wolves without much fuss, other than 5 or 6 minutes of worry, which is Arsenal PTSD. But besides ruining match of the day for Stan, it was a good day today for Arsenal. Liverpool almost dropped points, but City did drop points. And if you're asking me in the long run, who's the more dangerous team, it's City to me. And yes, I am the Arsenal fan who wanted Tottenham to take points off City. But that is your opinion. Stan, thank you for joining me. I do appreciate that always when you do join me, or else you would just have to listen to my voice for 90 minutes, and nobody wants that. We're out of here. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of the Sunday. And Stan, hopefully you get some nice rolls coming up as well.
Cheers, mate.
Take care, everyone.